Everybody, we are back. It is Taped on Watch, favorite podcast, favorite channel, favorite is everything. We are back. You guys already know what to do. Hit the subscribe button, subscribe. Hit the like button if you like it. Hit the dislike button if you don't like it. Leave a comment if you like it. Leave a comment if you don't like it. Also follow us on Twitter at the Mark John NFL for me, at mholder95 for Matt, and then of course pandasups.com, discount code TDL for 35% off.
Ooh, bumped it up. 35 now?
It's always been 35, man.
I thought it was 30 before. My bad.
No, that's 35. It's 35. Yeah. Also, you can use the code NFL Draft, and you can get 25% off too if you want to do that. So I don't know. You can't mix them up, but it just depends on which one you want to use. You can use the NFL Draft one, or you can use this one. So, all right, guys. So the NFL Draft is over. We're officially into kind of little slower season, and then we get into mini camp for a little bit. They excite us with some mini camp stuff, and then it's dead again for a whole month, and then we're back. It's preseason. So, guys, we're almost here. We're almost back to football, and the NFL Draft is over. So, your thoughts, Matt, on the NFL Draft as a whole before we get to the Raiders?
Yeah, definitely another one in the books. Always a long weekend. Excited to get some time off a little bit, get some calm periods before we hit training camp and whatnot. But yeah, another good draft, another good weekend. Appreciate all the work we put into it, and felt like it was another successful turnout.
Yeah, man. I thought the draft was it was a little dead at the end. I feel like a lot of the players that they talk about the depth of this draft, you could really tell the depth was pretty bad. I don't know how many of these guys get drafted, but there's more underclassmen. So we'll see how this works out with some of these picks in the back end, and just overall in the draft, not just saying the Raiders, but yeah, from like the fourth on, it got really kind of, especially after the fourth round, it was kind of. Yeah. Not the best prospects in the world that were going off the board, and some of those quarterbacks fell further like they usually do. I thought that was interesting. Like Michael Pratt, I think he went 6th round too, right?
Yeah, something like that. 6th, maybe even 7th. Yeah. We went 3 rounds without having a quarterback, 2, 3, 4, and before Spencer Rattler came off the board in the 5th, and then I don't know how many ended up getting drafted, but it wasn't a ton. So that was definitely a little bit surprising to see the run half the first 12 picks, and then not a single one for, again, 3 more rounds was kind of wild. But I think it spoke to a little bit probably Spencer Rattler's character. I know you were talking about that a little bit, and I think they even said that on the show. And then just kind of that steep drop off at that position after Bo Nix. So.
Yeah, I think with especially with the quarterbacks, you saw them kind of go so further down. I thought that was super interesting. People were worried about Spencer Rattler. People want me to talk about what happened to Spencer Rattler. Like you said, I don't know what happened. But I was like, the NFL's going to find out about that. If I'm, they got some detectives and they got some guys that go down there and get information and talk to that whole high school. I'm sure that happened. You could act like that didn't happen. But you could be kind of a little bit bothered that he was 17 or hurt him back then. But those things. You just got to kind of worry about what you do, and sometimes it always comes back to you. So you have to kind of it is what it is. But he may end up get drafted to Saints, so allow him to kind of.
Derek Carr's gonna go straighten him out. Derek Carr's gonna show him the light. I do think if it really was like the QB1 show, then that would push him down and be like, all right, that's ridiculous. Like you're saying, like that's a 17-year-old kid who at that time, like, let's be honest, was pretty much on top of the world. I think he was like the number 1 quarterback coming out, and like obviously way over arrogant. But again, when you're 17, young and stupid, and you act a little bit cocky, like I get that. And I think he's humbled since then. But I think if what you're talking about is like they dug into what actually happened at high school and then found out, that's probably more the reason. I think I can see where you're at that point. But yeah, if it really truly was how he came across when he was a 17-year-old on a reality TV show, that's ridiculous. But if it was something that he actually did that was bad, that got covered up, then now it's a different story.
Yeah, his personality is strong too. Like, he had this kind of exchange at the combine with Doug Farrar from Touchdown Wire. It was interesting exchange, but like he's just that type of guy. So that's kind of a little bit why he fell. People talk about Jordan Travis. He went the 6th round too, I think, right? 6th round of the Jets.
6th round.
So it's kind of that type of thing with the quarterbacks. But that always happens, man. These guys are like, they're going to go in the second round. They're going to go in the third round. They end up going in the sixth.
Although we did get humbled with everyone was kept pointing to Will Levis last year being like so highly regarded, and then like end up sliding into the second round. Like this year, the Vegas was right. I mean, both Penix and Nix ended up being first round picks. So kind of goes to show there is sometimes where there's smoke, there's some fire.
Yeah. I mean, that buzz was real this year, man. I mean, Penix really set the draft on fire. The Falcons are hilarious, bro. That was the funniest part.
Did you see Monty Osborne's quote too about cornerbacks? He's like, you don't want to just like reach, you don't want to just reach or whatever, like getting like buddy,
bro. Especially when they just signed Kirk Cousins, and Kirk's obviously mad. You know what I mean? Like it's that is so weird, and it's more because Michael Penix is so old too, man. Like, yes. So what is your plan?
Like, and like that. I mean, I think I remember. I don't know if I said this on the show, but I tweeted out where I was like, when I was like doing one of my articles for like quarterback fits, like I thought about putting like a quarterback to Atlanta just because Kirk is old, coming off an injury. You might want to have somebody like in the balance. But my thought was like JJ McCarthy, a guy that like you'd want to sit for a year or two and like let him learn, like one of the younger guys, not the oldest, most injury prone quarterback available.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, it is an interesting part of the draft. So people are saying Carter Bradley season before you get some of these other draft picks. Yeah.
Don't complain about the quarterbacks. We got Carter Bradley. We're good.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? We get the best of it to the quarterback. I'm just joking. I don't know. I mean, he did look good in Senior Bowl, though. I'm not gonna lie. He did.
Yeah.
He did have a good Senior Bowl. He was definitely a surprise at the Senior Bowl. Nobody really knew who he was. So to kind of make some of the throws that he was making.
Yeah, it was funny. It was like, who is this guy? And then we found out later, it's like, oh, that's Gus Bradley's son. Yeah.
So, I couldn't find any South Alabama film. I did try to search for it and try to see what I could find. And this is a couple months ago, but I mean, he didn't look that bad on broadcast. I mean, he looked like he's pretty athletic too. Yeah. He could move a little bit. He's better than Anthony Brown. That's for sure. I think that's good. Let's start
don't
there.
Disrespect my Ducks there.
Hey, no, you know what I'm saying?
Anthony Brown was awful.
Yeah, he's better than Anthony Brown at least. You know what I mean? Yeah. So maybe something you could develop. I don't know, but it is what it is with that. But really, no, that's what I'm saying. The other undrafted guys, I was like, that's what you could tell this class was kind of, the depth of it was not great, because usually the undrafted guys are, at least like star college players that fell through the cracks, right? And I was looking at that stuff, man. I was like, man, besides Carter Bradley, and they announced it so quick. It was just like,
yeah, I've never seen that before. I mean, me doing the tracker, I'm like sitting here. I think I texted it to you guys. I'm like, I'm sitting here refreshing Deshaun's feed, going to Pelissero, like just switching back and forth for like an hour, and then all of a sudden the Raiders just like, here's our UDFAs. I'm like, you mean I could have been doing something else and just waited? Which I've never seen that before. But yeah, I guess they knew who they wanted. But I think to your point earlier, like what you're talking about with the undrafted free agents and the late round picks, I believe we've gotten like last couple of years, basically since NIL has been introduced, we've gotten like fewer and fewer, like significantly fewer and fewer underclassmen declaring. And I think that's a big part of it. It's like when you can make some cash in college and you're not like just starving to make money and to be able to help your family and whatnot, like it makes sense to just stick around in school for another year. So
yeah. Literally nobody, man. And you could tell usually there's like a bidding war for some of these undrafted guys. Yeah. These guys signed super quick. So
yeah. Like weren't they bidding with like someone else for like Dalton Wagner last year? Like I feel like he like was like came in like a day or two after the initial wave or something like that. Yeah.
And that guard from Tennessee, Chattanooga, remember?
Yeah, that's right. McClendon Curtis.
Is he still on the team? Or is he?
No, I think he's in Seattle.
Okay.
Seattle just loves poaching the Raiders. Just love poaching the Raiders UDFAs last year. They got Drake Thomas too.
That's funny. Yeah, it is. That's mostly what it is. So it's almost over. I think we're gonna get back to kind of normal. No more 25-year-old quarterbacks anymore. Pretty soon here. We're almost out of the 25-year-old quarterback coming out.
Well, there's some dude at Miami. He's not a quarterback. I don't think he's a draft guy who's about to be on his like 9th year of eligibility.
Oh, is it
no, not Van Dyke. It's like a tight end or something like. Van Dyke transferred out of Miami. Don't worry, Van Dyke will be back for next year's draft cycle. But he transferred out of Miami because they got Cam Ward. But yeah, there's a dude from Miami who's like on his he like got approved for his 9th year at or something like that. It's like it's insane.
Where did Van Dyke go? I wonder because he's so interesting to me. As a prospect, he's like a big arm and he's a big dude. He just not good at Miami.
Wisconsin.
Interesting. Yeah. Interesting with that. Because he always has like, I remember when he was like a freshman, he had like first round buzz to him. Mm-hmm. And then at the beginning of this year when Miami was started off like 5-0, he looked pretty damn good. I thought he was gonna come out. And then he just went to shit.
Well, even like the year before, with Van Dyke, like I remember Derek Klassen, our quarterback guy at Bleacher Report, he was like really high on him and that like had him like higher than like some people. And then he just fell off a cliff. And then this year, like the same thing, started hot and fell off a cliff. I don't know what it is. I guess it's Cristobal because Cristobal had us doubting Justin Herbert for a while. So
yeah, that's we'll see. When he goes to Wisconsin, he balls. That's like a sneaky first round pick because he's a big dude. He's not small. That's a big guy with a big arm. All right. So enough about other 2025 NFL quarterbacks, but I guess we'll be talking about that next year probably anyways.
We got 365 days to talk about next year's quarterback class, I guess, at this point.
Exactly. Start some quarterback class breakdowns real early, man. Let's look at this 2025 class. All right. So let's get into the draft picks here. Here we go. These are all the draft picks for the Raiders. So we start off with round 1 when Brock Bowers was a great shocker. It was a shock, but it was great. I feel like this is a great value pick. I mean, you could just so many things you could do with him. We'll talk about him in a second. Jackson Powers Johnson, the center from Oregon, right, which is another home run pick. We got Delmar Glaze, OT from Maryland, right, which is that some people say that's a reach. Some people really like that pick. I think it's right in the middle, right where you should have took him. But we'll talk about him more in depth when we get there. And then DeCamerion Richardson, cornerback from Mississippi State. He's 188 pounds and he's fast. It's just that's not gonna change.
Had a bunch of PBUs too. I think he had like 7 PBUs when I saw it or something like that. So falls in line with what Telesco likes. He's almost just too tall.
yeah, and then he didn't have any interceptions in college either, which I thought
right.
Was
Yeah.
Tommy Eckenberg, linebacker. I think that he's definitely going to make that football team. Especially I think Bernie's in trouble. I would say that. Now he got Bernie's in trouble. Dylan Loeb, running back out of New Hampshire. He went at the Senior Bowl. He really impressed. I think that's a guy who has a chance to make the team. Trey Taylor he's the best safety in college football.
Yeah, Jim Thorpe winner.
Yeah, Jim Thorpe Award winner. So, I mean, that was an interesting pick because you got to think about the safeties on this team. That means they want depth at that position, but it doesn't say Chris Smith needs to be worried with Trey Taylor. He needs to be a little bit worried.
Well, on top of it too, Merrick and Epps are in contract years, so at least you get at least have depth. Obviously, I think probably at least one of them will be back next year. And if they don't not saying that Trey Taylor could start up and be a starter next year, but you at least maintain depth at that spot if those two guys walk.
Yeah, and plus safety is basically like running back, kind of like running back and linebackers. You can get good linebackers and safeties in the back end of a draft. Like you could think of some of the better safeties in the league. Not all of them are first round picks. You know what I mean?
I feel like most of them aren't.
Exactly. They're from the back end here. So maybe Trey Taylor is a Jim Thorpe Award winner. Maybe there's something there to him. So I'm really excited to kind of deep dive into him and see what he does. Just because I wasn't expecting the draft of safety, I guess. So it's kind of that was an interesting one. And then they got another corner for some more depth. MJ Devonshire, from cornerback from Pittsburgh, who has a lot of ball production during his career. So, but what did you think of the draft overall?
I mean, to start with the obvious, we've kind of already touched on it. Again, I think we've talked about it during the season. Like, not thrilled about rolling into the season with Aiden O'Connell and Gardner Minshew at quarterback. But again, talked about this a lot. Like, you can't buy what wasn't for sale. 6 quarterbacks going in the first 12 picks. Like, I just don't know what else they could have done. And I think they made legitimately made the best out of what they were dealt. Getting Brock Bowers, again, shocked everybody. I didn't think they would do it, but with clearly the best player available. And I like the approach. I mean, for years we've talked about the Raiders just drafting the best player available, especially when it comes to that first round and not reaching for a need. We can think of the Gruden and Mayock era where that was common. And if that would have happened, we might have seen Spencer Rattler be the first round pick. So I'm extremely happy about that. I'm interested to see what they're going to be able to do with him and Mayer on the field at the same time. Obviously, a lot of 12 personnel, and I think you get a heck of a weapon that made it so that they didn't really have to have a wide receiver in this year's class. So I'm excited to see what he can do. Also think he fits really well with what Gardner Minshew and Aiden O'Connell's skill set is. And we both know those guys don't have big arms, but they can be accurate in the short areas. And you get another great yak tight end who, I mean, as we've shown some of those clips, is just an absolute stud after the catch with the ball in his hands. Powers Johnson, to me, like that got me really excited about this draft. I didn't think he would be available at pick 44. I love that pickup. Not only do you get a starting right guard option, you get a guy that could play center if Andre James isn't picking it up or isn't what you were hoping it was going to be, or leaves in 2 years, like when his contract hasn't out in it. Glaze and Richardson, those are the two picks. I'm not going to say I don't like them. They're the biggest projects where I would have liked to see other guys go in those spots. But again, I also just don't know a ton about them at this point. I love the Tommy Eichenberg pick. That's my favorite value pick of this draft. Like, we'll get into him later, but yeah, he's a guy that honestly, like, I would not be surprised if towards the end of the year we see him starting over a guy like Divine Diablo, who, like, I know you mentioned Amari Burney's roster spots in jeopardy. I think Divine Diablo's later down the year might have his starting spot up for drafts. I really liked Eichenberg. I've liked him for a while. And then you mentioned it with Lob. With him, he's like another guy who you kind of hope maybe at his ceiling is, Tom Telesco's new Austin Eckler. Don't mean to put that lofty of expectations on him, but he fits that mold as that smaller back who can tote the rock a little bit and catch passes out of the backfield. Similar to Eckler's stat lines in the NFL, like Loeb had like 750 rushing yards and like 700 receiving yards this past year. So just to kind of paint the picture on him, also gives you value as a returner, and be interested to see how he does with the new kickoff rules, where I think a running back will get a little bit more value, and especially a guy like him that can read it and hit the hole hard. So I was definitely pretty happy with how they attacked this draft and how it played out. And then you mentioned the two guys in the 7th round. Don't know much about Devonshire. Trey Taylor was a good pickup, though, as a safety to get the best safety in college football last year.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's super interesting that he's the best safety in college football, and he fell. So I really want to deep dive into him, just because, we didn't have safety too much on the radar and didn't deep dive into safety too much. So, seeing a player like him, I wonder, why he would fall. Probably has like athleticism, so something like that. So I'll probably, pull up his RAS in a second, but probably something like that. And then, Devonshire, I think he's just kind of the same thing, a little bit of athletic issues. I'll pull up his RAS too, or go on over some of these guys. But I think overall, to me, I thought this was a really good draft, right? Like value wise, this is like the first time I've seen a value draft for the Raiders, right? We had all the nerdy analytics stuff that people kind of, we talk about a lot with some of that nerdy analytics stuff and, analytical GMs and all these things. I mean, this is the guy who had Brandon Staley, who went on 4th down every single second. And, it's all about the analytics. And that's really what you saw, even kind of, some of the PFF connections that he was kind of put out there for some of those guys in the PFF podcast, that they're, Tom Telesco uses these guys, right? You kind of tell. Literally, all these guys have like great PFF grades. They literally do. Like, even Richardson, his PFF grade is 86 coverage, right? Loeb has like a 90 receiving grade. Brock Bowers, Jackson Powers Johnson. Delmar Glaze has an 87 pass blocking grade. Like, all these guys, like, is all value draft, and that's really what it was. I mean, they got great value picks at all. You could talk about Richardson. Maybe they took him a little too high, but he's athletic as hell. Brock Bowers, great value. I mean, that's really what it is. That's a great value. Jackson Powers Johnson, crazy value. Getting him in the 2nd round at 44. Like, that's really what this type of draft, like his what's the word I'm looking for? His process, his
Gotcha.
Like, you know what I mean? I can't think of the word I was going to say, but yeah, it is like a different type of draft that we're used to seeing. So, you know, I think a lot of people, this is how you see a draft, you see the GM, is going to be a value. And that's what we learned from this. The best value pick, especially in the first and second round. I mean, who cares? You might have the best defensive end in football. But
yeah. We gotta start watching what's that guy Pierce from Tennessee that's supposed to be legit. Yeah, that was one of my takeaways from this year's draft class. I'm like, man, like now knowing how Telesco drafts, now knowing that he just doesn't care and will take the best player available. Next year it's gonna be a lot more fun because we can just watch like the best players and break them down because he's gonna go after it no matter what if they end up falling to his lap. So that's one thing I'm excited about as someone who puts together content for the Raiders.
Yeah, it's just different, man. I guess that's why it felt different because just looking at those players overall, you know, just looking at that list, it's like, man, it's really not that bad. That's pretty damn good, actually.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? They got to play first, you know. That's the thing. But it just from the overall outlook of it, opening, kind of seeing the players listed, it's not bad at all. So it's pretty good.
Yeah.
All right, so let's start with the first guy here. See if you got any questions in here, anybody. How much does the Service Academy affect this draft stock?
No.
I think Vin, go ahead, Matt.
Trump signed a few years ago. Trump signed a bill where, like, if you get drafted, or I don't even know if you have to get drafted. I think you can just sign a contract. Like, basically, if you have a chance to play professional sports, you can defer your service.
Okay, all right, so that makes sense. All right, so he's gonna be playing right away. See any other questions when we get in here? We're good. All right, so let's get into the first pick, which is Brock Bowers. I can find Brock Bowers. Didn't do any athletic testing, so there's really nothing there for anything. But he did have 26 career touchdowns, 2,541 receiving yards, and 5 career rushing touchdowns. He's 6'3", 243 at the combine. He is basically a monster. And he's just a very elite tight end prospect. So probably one of the best tight end prospects you'll see, to be honest, just because of the speed he has and just the yak ability and some of those things he could do. You could do so many things with him. That's why this is one of the best value picks of the draft. I mean, I think anybody would say that. And you know, except like some nerds would be like, "Oh, you shouldn't draft a tight end that's early." but I just think he's a little bit more of a tight end. I mean, if you really watch him and you dive into the film, there's so many things he can do. So he's a pretty special player.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing I think for me is like you get an offensive weapon. Like when you posted that clip and like I kind of forgot about it, and like you see it on there. The guy had 5 rushing touchdowns. And like I know, again, you posted that clip of him against, I think it was like Akron or something like that, or Kent State, with him taking a jet sweep 75 yards to the house. Like, show me another clip of a tight end doing that against any opponent. Like, that's just kind of what he is like, there's so many different ways that you can use this guy that, yes, you got a tight end from positional standpoint, but you also just got a guy that you just want to get the ball in his hands. And like, you can just make plays whenever he's on the field. So, I mean, I think you got to be excited about this. You could arguably say that the Raiders got the best non-quarterback on the board this year.
Yeah, dude is a pure stud, man. So some people had him like as high as their number 2 player in the whole draft. Just because how explosive he is. Just, you know what I'm saying? Like, you could just throw him the ball and he might take it. There's a chance, or he might break a couple tackles and take it 40. And, you know, he's very explosive. Like, his acceleration is very high. He's an explosive player. I mean, that really is what the Raiders needed. And he can win deep too. Like, you can line him outside. He can win deep from the slot. He can really win deep. But like, you can line him up in the backfield, right? Have 2 running backs behind him, and you could, you know, do some play action or something like that, or have like fullbacks and kind of condense everything, have them bring linebackers in, and he'll get these one-on-ones with those type of players, and he's just gonna eat them up, right? So there's so many things you could do. I mean, he even opens it up for Devontae Adams like crazy, in my opinion, because they're gonna have to worry about Brock, right? I think he's gonna open it up for the whole offense. because it's going to take about 3 weeks. If they're not worried about Brock, it's going to take about 3 weeks, right? And then by week 4, they're going to be worried about Brock, and then Devontae Adams gets some looks because you're all over the top of Devontae Adams. We're going to throw right in that seam right there, right?
Yeah.
So, he changed his offense a lot.
A couple things that came to mind. So before I get the trolls in my mentions for calling him the best non-quarterback that available, I did forget about Marvin Harrison Jr. I forgot about that. Yeah. But what I was going to say too is, like, I'm pretty sure on our final board for BR, we had Harrison first and Bowers second, just to give you guys an idea. Again, run on quarterbacks helps Bowers slide and whatnot, and positional value that all the PFF nerds and stat nerds will argue. But again, get a weapon. My other question was, at this point in his career, do you think Brock, I mean, it would have helped to have a 40 time on it, but at this point in their careers, do you think Brock Bowers might be a little faster than Devontae?
Yeah, I think so. Man. I think he's faster.
I mean, he can move. And I don't mean to slight Devontae, but he's getting a little slower now, getting up there in age. And I mean, it also just speaks to how fast Brock Bowers, I think, is. Again, wish we had a 40 to put a number on it, but guy can move.
Yeah, it's at least a 4.51. You know what I mean? Like, it's at least that, because he can move, man. I don't care if it's versus Kid State. Seeing a 240-pound guy go 75 yards, and one of the safety like try to figure out the angle, and he's like, "Wait, this guy's that fast?" It caught him off guard. So it's he's explosive. As blocking, that's the thing. We can talk about he blocks. I mean, he's okay. He's not the greatest blocker in the world. He doesn't give the best effort, I would say. More, what's wrong with him? Sometimes he does. When he does, it's cool, but like it's not like the greatest effort. That's why he reminds me of Travis Kelce so much. Like, Kelce, sure. I mean, I'm a tight end. I got to block, but do I want to? Seriously, not. Throw me the football. That's how basic Brock Bowers is. Give me the ball type of guy. So, but that's what Michael Mayer is for. That's why they're run 12 personnel.
Michael Mayer, like Michael Mayer wasn't great at blocking coming out, but he at least had like the effort and whatnot, and he could at least like get in the way at the beginning of last year. Whereas like towards the end of the year last year, like he was actually starting to become a factor in the running game. So like that's where I think you can have a guy like Brock Bowers that, again, probably not the most interested in blocking and not going to be the best guy, but at least you have someone already in the building that can do that at the position in Michael Mayer.
Yeah, for sure, man, for sure. So I mean, that was the first pick. I feel like that was a home run. Like I was shocked during the draft, but then I went and turned the film on, and I was like, "Oh my god!"
All right, got more excited. I'm flipping on today, so I'm looking forward to it.
There's some dopeness, man. Yeah, but the last thing I would talk about, his hands though are interesting. That's what I'll say. I do think that's kind of one knock I want him, and I don't know what his overall numbers are. They might be pretty good, but it just felt like at times there's just like a concentration drop on some tough catches, like adjustment catches and things like that. But even then, there's one where he's catching it with one hand. So it's,
give and take a little bit.
But I'm just saying that there might be an adjustment of drops, like, and hopefully he doesn't get in his head where he's like not trying to, doing those type of things. It like you'll see it. It'll like show up like once on film, and you're like, okay. Like, like if you watch first Kentucky, right? He has this route. He routes up this corner, right? And he has like almost a half a yard of separation on a fade, and he just can't bring it in. And it's a nice throw from Carson Beck. So I don't know. It just showed up, and like versus Auburn, it was like back to back drops. So
and
that was the thing.
I was gonna say I can totally see what you're saying, like, and I totally see where you're coming from. PFF credited him with 8 drops in 3 years, which is less than ideal. But in that Kentucky game, so he had the 1 drop. He had 9 targets, 7 catches for 132 yards and a touchdown.
Yeah,
we'll take a drop. We'll take it. You know what? We're not happy with it. But if you put up 130 in a tutty, we'll take it every single time.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly. But I mean, it could have been like that game could have been 8 and 160.
Yeah.
Basically, was
exactly.
But he routed that guy up. I mean, like it's probably when I do the breakdown or when we do it, I don't know if we're gonna do that together. I don't know how we're gonna do that, but when we do that, I'm gonna show that play because he just routes that guy up, man.
Yeah. Okay. Nice.
Yeah. So it's nice. All right, here we go. Next guy who was a surprise, but I love this pick. Jackson Powers Johnson, inside O-line, Oregon, 6'3", 328, 32-inch arms, great first. This dude had like one pressure. He gave him his whole career, dog. Like his 99.7 pass block efficiency is nuts. And woo, man, that was one of my favorite picks here, because this dude, he can move inside, he can play center, like, right, and then he is a stud. He's a stud inside interior offensive lineman, because even if you think about it, guard, right, he played guard at the Senior Bowl, correct? Like the second day.
Yeah, he took some snaps there. Yeah.
Dominated, right? Mm-hmm. So yeah, this dude's a beast, man. It's hard for me like even explain this one, because his film is crazy too. Like his film is nuts. So this dude is a stud. For him to fall to 44, it's probably because of a little bit of the injuries, and he got injured at the Senior Bowl. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I mean, that is there. That injury history is there. I mean, you just got to get that cleaned up a little bit. Maybe lay off the chicken wings a little bit as much, and then work that out. You'll find a nice little better diet there to help those injuries, and then we can get into that 99.7 pass block efficiency, because the Raiders need that, and he takes his offensive line to the next level.
Yeah. I mean, like you kind of alluded to it, 4 pressures in his entire career, 1 this past season. I think a big part of it too, 430 snaps playing right guard. So, I mean, as far as like value goes, like back-to-back picks where they just got tremendous value, where the board fell to them and got 2 studs and filled the hole. I mean, obviously, I think this pretty much confirms that Thayer Munford's sticking at right tackle and going to be the right tackle probably in week one starter. So we'll see how that works out. But yeah, I'm excited what JPJ can do. He's a stud, nasty dude in the trenches, moves pretty well too. I think there's a clip floating around on Twitter of him on reverse, just laying out this corner in open space. So yeah, that was a hell of a pick. Another one that I think you got to be really happy with if you're the Raiders. And again, who knows, Andre James in a couple of years when he starts getting closer to 30 and all that stuff, now you have your immediate replacement at center if you want to make that switch. So
yeah, man, it was just a great pick, right? Just a steal. It's hard to explain how good of a pick this is, because there's a lot of buzz for him being a first rounder before, like, if he didn't get injured in the Senior Bowl, you know what I mean? Like, I think he goes in the first round, right? I think that injury kind of pushed him up a little bit there. It just pushed him back, I mean, a little bit, but great draft, man. So one of my favorite picks really for the Raiders in a long time. Just because I know he's going to be a stud. Like, I just really no I don't have any worries about him more. I mean, like, it's more like they drafted 2 potential Pro Bowl guys, right? And I think Howard Johnson's a potential All-Pro type of player. You know what I mean? Like, his tape is just nuts. So, and then the way he dominated the Senior Bowl, yeah, you could tell that he was playing with guys that are all going to be in the NFL, but he was just a little different than everybody who's going to be in the NFL at the same time as him. You know what I mean? Like,
I mean, he was the talk-a-mobile for the first 2 days of practice. Like, he was just stonewalling everyone. Like, I don't know if he lost a single rep, and he was pretty damn dominant. So, yeah, for sure, man. I thought the Bucs were going to take him at they were like 25 or something like that, and they ended up getting Barton, but worked out well for the Raiders.
Mm-hmm. So, I saw this comment here. It's contrary to popular belief, this draft was atrocious, addressing the QB position. In a draft like this regime failed same way JMD and Zig. I mean, let's talk about this, because they didn't draft the quarterback, right? First 2 rounds is really when you draft the quarterback a little bit. What are your thoughts on that, Matt?
My question for everyone that says that, what did you want them to do? You can't buy what's not for sale. We didn't see a trade happen until the Vikings and Jets swapped 10-11. Again, what did you want them to do? Like, you're just mad because they didn't draft a quarterback. Like, again, what did you want them to do? Like, please let me know. Like, I'm genuinely curious. Like, and give me an actual answer, not just some speculative thing. Like, what did you want them to do?
Trade the farm, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
They couldn't have done that.
It wouldn't matter, I guess. I mean, they went 6 quarterbacks with the first 12 picks, man. It's crazy. It's nuts.
And 3 of them went in the first 3 picks. So if you trade the farm, you're probably trading the farm for QB4.
Yeah.
Like, people would have been pissed at that too.
See, the thing is, but you couldn't go get JJ because the Vikings had the 23rd pick in the draft. I mean, you can't outbid the Vikings for JJ McCarthy. And you think the Vikings wouldn't have known that the Raiders were trying to trade up for it? Because the teams they're trying to trade up for would tell them. They'd probably call the Vikings them damn selves.
Why do you think the Jets and Vikings swap 1 picks? Probably because teams were calling the Jets. It wouldn't be surprised if it was the Raiders saying, hey, we want to trade up. And what do you think the Jets do? They pick up the phone and say, hey, they want to take your quarterback. Like, again,
they call the Vikings too. They're going to call the Vikings first before they can just take it. You know what I mean? Yeah. Just to say, they couldn't give up more than that. Yeah. So I mean, there's really nothing they could have done. Because the Vikings had that 23 and 11. So if you can't really give up more than them because they have a first round pick for 11, they have 23, and then they can give up next year, so they can give up like a second round. They have more to give up, more capital to give you now, so you can build with that. And I mean, also the way that it fell them to get JJ anyway. So it would have been rough. Yeah, it would have been rough. So and to be honest, I think, I mean, when they kind of looked at things, they decided that, who's actually going to be better than the room. I mean, that's what Tom Telesco said. Yeah. So, and not like they didn't try. I mean, that's the thing. They tried to trade up to 2. So there was attempts that was out there. They tried to do it, right? They tried. But the Commanders are like, why would we do this with this quarterback class? Why would we go to 13?
And that's weren't the only team that tried. Like, you know what I mean? Like we heard about the Vikings trying to move up too, and they couldn't have any luck either. And again, the Vikings had 2 first-round picks this year. Like, that just shows you, like, those first 3 teams, I know like they might have hinted at they might budge. I think Peters and the Commanders like shot down those rumors from the get-go, like pretty much for the entire time. Patriots said they were open to it, but obviously they didn't budge either. Like what did you want them to do? Like, it was just not going to happen. I think we kind of prefaced that going into the draft, like, and warned people like it was not going to be easy to move up for a quarterback. And I told, like we said, just wasn't going to happen. Nobody traded inside the top 10. So I don't know what you want them to do.
All right. Let's do some Mr. Glaze here, Delmar Glaze, who was at the combine. He's 315. I thought that was interesting. People are saying he's like 328, 3 something big, but he has some long arms, hands. Not the most athletic guy in the world. But he had a pretty good pass block efficiency for his career too. I think it was 26 total pressures, I believe. You can check on that, Matt. Yep. Overall, and so this one. So to me, he was more of a OT fit than I thought, just based on his combine, right? Because those are all kind of the numbers that Telesco likes at 315, kind of the leaner tackle, right? To play right tackle or play left tackle. So I wouldn't think that they're going to try to move him into guard. They did talk about, he talked about that a little bit, but I wouldn't see that happening. But, I think it's definitely going to be a competition between him and Munford for the job there with Delmar Glaze. And like I said, with Glaze, you could tell by a little bit of the athleticism with the vert. My problem with him was always his feet. Actually has pretty good hands. Good hands, strong player. You know what I'm saying? So it's just a little bit of the athleticism there. But, I think Munford has the same kind of issue as him. So, I would say that as a prospect coming out, he was definitely better than Thayer Munford, right? Thayer Munford as a prospect coming out, just based on, film overall. Because, his only bad game was against Michigan. But, I watched that a little bit last night, and I thought that he looked pretty good in that game. So, yeah, overall, I kind of, I warmed up to this pick a little bit. It's going to be a battle between them. But, I think there is a little bit of upside there. It's just, I think athletically, he's just a little bit limited. You kind of see it with his feet. He's just, it's just, things you're not going to be able to really fix with his athleticism.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think one of the biggest selling points is he was a right tackle up until this past season when he switched to left, and even his sophomore in 2021 and 2022, he played some left tackle too. So I think that's probably part of the biggest thing is like you get like at worst case a swing tackle for a year or two whenever and have Thayer Munford start on the right side. But yeah, definitely the first pick where I was a little bit head scratching on. Like you said, I don't know a ton about him. Just looking at his grades, I mean, I was kind of surprised to see PFF run blocking grades in like the low 60s, which
Yeah,
a little bit above average. And did give up 36 pressures, so not the greatest pick on paper, but interested to see what it looks like when I dive into the film. That lack of athleticism does worry me a little bit, but we'll see. He's probably going to be a backup year one, and then maybe competition, or at least I should say at best case a competition for Munford.
Yeah, definitely competition for him. So if he picks it up and he looks really well, maybe he ends up beating him out. That would be definitely something that
interesting,
very interesting.
Yeah,
but that's probably what they want too a little bit. You take a guy in the third round, you kind of want him to do that. So if that happens, we'll see. But I think Munford, he's been an average tackle so far. He has a pretty good in pass. He's been better in pass protection than in overall in the run game, I say. But which is super interesting. But I think that he has some mauler in him, but his problem is athleticism too. He's just not a great athlete for an offensive lineman. So that's the type of thing that you have with him. But this guy, he does have some upside to him, though. A little bit of upside, especially with the arms, the arm length. You just gotta. He's a pretty powerful guy, but it's not gonna be a superstar. I don't see like a superstar tackle. You know what I mean? That type of thing. Yeah, for sure, dude. To talk about the starting offensive line, probably overall, I see somebody posted. I think they posted something else. I don't know. I don't know why people want to move Munford to guard. Did he play guard before, or did he play guard at?
Yeah, he played guard at. Remember last year at Ohio State? He switched to guard.
Yeah.
And they originally drafted him. When they drafted him originally, he was playing guard and he was playing guard and tackle during his rookie year. But yeah, they're. If that's what someone wants, I can understand it. But I think Andre James, they paid him a good amount of money. He's the starting center.
They called him, right? They called him and say, "Hey, man, you're playing center, man. And just don't worry, don't freak out. Yeah, I know you've seen Jackson Powers Johnson film. Don't worry." They had to call him and see if I wasn't freaking out. Yeah. He knows what's up. He's an O-line guy. He knows about Jackson. You know what I'm saying? He's a Pac-12 guy. He's definitely watching that center position. So if Jackson Powers Johnson showed up on the screen, I'm sure Andre would have called. He'd been on the phone with James, like, James, what the fuck?
Yeah, it would have been it's similar to a Kirk Cousins situation. Kirk Cousins ends up getting pissed. You call him right before you make the pick.
Yeah. I see James slow motion snap. I know about James, the snaps and all that stuff, man, but it's something that he's so solid though. He's not terrible and he's just a solid center, but it's only 1 year. It's set up as a 1 year contract. They can get out of it next year. And that's kind of when I see, I think
it's
kind of just move inside.
Maybe. Yeah. I think right now your best O-line on paper is Miller at left tackle, Parham, James, JPJ, and then Munford. Going into training camp, that's going to be the line. I think that's your best unit on paper. How it unfolds will remains to be seen. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm thinking.
Overall, that offensive line is not the same bad.
No, it's not bad at all.
Really, yes. Colt Miller's a stud, most underrated tackle in football because he's not a Pro Bowler. He made a Pro Bowl, but
he should have twice. He should have at least 2 or 3 times.
Monster, right? Yeah. And then Parham is solid. Against the average defensive tackle, he does a good job. Against the better ones, that's where we got to see him get better. Take a step up where he can stop some really good players, right? That's what Parham has to get better at, in my opinion. Andre James is the same way. Average defense tackle. He looks good. Better ones. Chris Jones is tossing him into the stands, right? And that's him. And then, you get Jackson Powers Johnson, who I think has the ability to, maybe hang with Chris Jones, not this year, not maybe the first matchup, but by the second time, he's hanging with them, right? I think that he has that ability. You probably think that's a little crazy, but I believe in it, man. I think it's a possibility, right? I'm not saying the first game. I'm saying deep down in the second game, he might have a good game against Chris Jones because he's just that type of player. and then Thayer Munford's not bad, man. At right tackle, he really isn't. It's not a bad right tackle. He's not bad. So it's pretty good. It's pretty good, man. It's pretty good. So I kind of like it. let's just see some of these guys so we can get to these questions and get out of here. So the last guy is Decameron Richardson, cornerback from Mississippi State, 6'2", 188, 32-inch arms, 4.34 40 time, 35-inch vertical, broad, 10.8. The passer rating was just interesting because he has no interceptions, right? So, but he did have some good ball skills this year. I know Chris Sims is high on him. Chris Sims had him like number 5, right? But
yeah,
Chris Sims, I have to watch the video and watch his breakdown, see what he says about him. But my thing with Cameron Richardson is because one of the games I watched of him was him against Malik Neighbors, and Neighbors just kind of just.
I was just looking at that stat line. I'm like, yeah, it looks like Malik Neighbors ate him alive.
yeah, and so, but he tackles really well. That's one of his things. He's a great tackler. You can see him. He's a pretty, joke. He got some muscle on him. He's not a little kind of slim dude, but he has some muscle to it. So he's lean, right? Still 188, can move. Like Nate Wiggins. Nate Wiggins is like he's basically a pole. You know what I'm saying? He's basically just a stick. This dude's not a stick, right? He can come up and kind of lay the wood a little bit. Pause there, but he can do that. But you know what I'm saying? So he can kind of tackle. He's a physical player that way, and he's got the speed. So it's one of those things where he has some upside to him. Upside pick, right? A lot of upside in the 4th round. Kind of like Jacorian Bennett a little bit. He might come in there and go over that and have a chance to kind of come in there and get some playing time at least later on in the season.
Yeah. I mean, to your point about being a good tackler, PFF only had him with 3 missed tackles and a 3.9% missed tackle rate, which is really good for a corner. So if he's physical and tall and physical and can run, I think that's probably fits the profile. A guy that I kind of wanted them to see them go after would have been like a Kyrie Jackson or a Cam Hart. Those are similar types of corners where they're like taller, skinnier with longer arms. But the biggest difference, I think, that ended up making for Telesco and the Raiders is Hart and Jackson ran 4.5s. This guy runs a 4.34. So, you're looking at a pretty significant speed difference. So I guess if you want to spin it that way, there's a little bit more potential, I guess, with Richardson and a similar size profile. So, yeah, be another guy that I don't know a ton about. I'd be interested to dive into. But like you said, graded out pretty well for PFF, if that means anything to you. So interesting to see what they can do with him.
Yeah, man, he's got talent though. I think that's one thing. And like I said, he can tackle really well, and he's a physical type of guy, right? So he's definitely set for like a little bit of press coverage and doing some of those things. So, and he has some pretty good stats this year. It's just maybe the ball skills overall you can question because you have no interceptions as a cornerback. I mean, the overall those type of guys really don't pan out that much in the NFL. Like I was thinking like the dude Alexander from Clemson. I don't remember him. I can't forget his first name.
Was it Alexander or Andrew Booth? You thinking of?
Oh, was it Booth or it was some Alexander, right? I think he got drafted by the Vikings or something like that.
Yeah. Was it Mackenzie Alexander?
Yes, that's what I'm thinking about. Yes. He had no interceptions in his career, and he really didn't, pan out, but he had like great film, right? Like he was supposed to be like a 1st round pick with his film, but he didn't have the ball skills, kind of that type of thing. And Raiders fan, Nate Lawson, who everything just hit him right in the chest. He just refused to have an interception in his career. So maybe that can creep up a little bit, but there's upside there though for sure.
Well, one thing is pull up that picture of him again. I mean, you can tell from being sub 190. But he's got to hit the weight room because I think his quads are as big as his calves right now. Look at that left.
He skips leg day for sure, dog.
Yeah, he skipped leg day. Like, come on, bro. We got to hit the squat rack a little bit. Get those big quads up there.
You know what I mean? He looks like he's muscle shirt ready, but he's got skinny jeans on. That's what he's trying to do.
He does have some big ass arms. His arms might be bigger than his legs. Helps some press coverage, I guess.
I guess, man. You know what I mean? Help you run that 4.34, bro. You can't have too much slow you down. Too much. Then you become a running back. All right. So the other draft picks, go back to the last guys. Talk about these guys real quick here. Kind of go over the rest of them. Tommy Eichenberg. You're very familiar with him.
Yeah.
Talk about him a little bit.
Yeah, so Eichenberg was actually a guy who I watched heading into the 2023 draft. He ended up going back to school, obviously, and returning to Ohio State. Honestly, I think he probably would have been drafted higher if he had gone out. He kind of regressed a little bit this year, like wasn't quite as dominant and physical against the run. Just to put a number on it, for example, he had like a 90 PFF run defense grade, which is elite, and then that dropped down to like 68 this past year. I know he battled through some injuries towards the end of the year, but he's a tough dude, physical guy that can come up and play the run. A little bit worried about him in coverage. He's not the greatest moving laterally, but I mean, a dude that fits Antonio Pierce's mentality, like almost to a T. Just physical, will come up and hit you. About as close to an old school linebacker as you'll get in this draft class. I had him as the best run defender in the linebacker class, just overall. So to speak to what type of player he is. And two, I think this story probably is going to be this is what sold AP towards the end of the 2022 year. He apparently was playing with like broken hands and just played through it. So again, for a guy that is tough, likes to play the run, and fought through an injury, like that's just to me is the type of guy that AP wants. And I think the mentality that is going to fit well in this defense, especially with guys like Crosby. Like he's a high effort, high motor guy that I think the defense is really going to build around. And honestly, as far as like just value, being a fifth round guy, it was excellent. I think I had him as like a fringe top 100 guy, linebacker 3 or 4 or something in this year's class. I think he was 4 behind Peyton Wilson for me. So yeah, I'm really excited about what he can do. A guy that just loves playing ball. Also, anyone's familiar, Liam Eichenberg plays right tackle, I think, for the Dolphins, played at Notre Dame. That's his brother. So some family ties too, some NFL lineage.
Okay. Yeah, I think with AP with linebackers, watching Robert Spillane get better, because Spillane coming in, I mean, with that signing, it was underwhelming, right? Robert Spillane, he can't do anything in the pass game, he can't coverage, and all of a sudden he's picking everything off, right? He's looking like he's a great linebacker in coverage and zone coverage, right? So I think AP really elevates linebackers. Even Divine Diablo played a little bit better this year than he did before. Luke Masterson was a stud this year. I thought he's a secret guy to me. That I think he was making plays out there. He was doing all types of stuff and playing really well as a linebacker. And I think AP elevates that road just naturally. Yeah. I think he's a great linebacker coach. Those guys get elevated. They play better than maybe what their talent is. So you see somebody like Tommy Eckenberg come in. And, you posted that clip that when you talked to him about AP at the combine, like he's going to enjoy AP. He's going to kind of embrace him and kind of take in his coaching. And AP's still going to have a big hand in that linebacker room. Let's just keep it real. Yeah. I mean, he's not going to act like he isn't. He's going to be in that locker room probably every week with those dudes, messing around with them and trying to see what they're doing. So that's what I really like about AP at the linebacker groups. I mean, because, is Robert Spillane that good? I don't know. To be honest, I mean, he looked that good with Mike Tomlin, and he comes over here, and he looks like he can, like he's just picking everything off. Man, it was crazy to kind of watch him this year a little bit. So, yeah, you see it somebody like Eichenberg who has that talent of run defending. You know what I mean? That's a great pick.
Yeah. I feel like him and Spillane are like fairly comparable, like types of players. So interesting that they got 2 guys that they very clearly have a type, or at least AP does when it comes to linebacker.
Yeah. So I see a lot of people talk about the Spillane comparison there. So Dylan Lobb, right? Am I saying that right? Is that how you say it?
I think it's Lobb, Love. I'm not sure.
All right. I mean, it's
figure it out.
Dylan Lobb from New Hampshire, running back from New Hampshire. I like this pick a lot, though. I did. Just for the running backs that are available at that point in time. Running backs really late in this draft. Kind of, a little bit. Some of the other guys that you weren't expecting to kind of go earlier, they kind of ended up going in these rounds. And Dylan Lobb, from New Hampshire, he's a guy who went out there, had a good Senior Bowl, really showed a lot of his route running skills, a lot of his pass catching skills at the Senior Bowl. Definitely, beating a lot of linebackers, winning those 1-on-1s and linebackers versus linebackers, and he has a lot of speed too. I think he's a pretty fast guy. Pretty good athletic profile too for a running back. He just it was about 5'9", about 206. So he's the type of player that you can maybe become that third down guy, like deeper in the future, and then be the guy that maybe come in there and get some carries too. People were going to compare him to Austin Eckler a little bit. And that would be the main thing that they'll do. But I think he's a little bit of a different player because I think he can run the ball a little bit better than Austin Eckler potential wise, right? I think he's a little bit better of a running back overall for him. But I think early on though, he's going to be that guy that comes in and on third down and runs routes and stuff like that until he starts to get more carries and gets the ball and show he can run the ball a little bit in the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, I think he nailed it. Like, I remember my first exposure to him was at the Senior Bowl, and I was watching the linebackers, and it was like, who is this little white kid just cooking all these guys on these option routes? And I think that's where he's going to make his money in the NFL, is just squaring guys up and using his shiftiness to create some separation in the passing game. But yeah, he was a guy that I actually was kind of hoping they would like target in this range. So when he ended up falling to him and they ended up taking him, I was actually pretty excited. Another guy that I was really happy with that they ended up walking away getting. So yeah, I was stoked about Lobb for a 6th round pick. Like, I feel like these are the type of guys you want to take a gamble on, the ones that might not necessarily meet the size threshold and obviously went to a smaller school, but could be a good player down the line for you.
Yeah, because even looking at his stats overall, he has 155 career catches at New Hampshire, right? 155 career catches. He had 68 this year for 708 yards, right? So that just shows where his upside is. I think as an overall runner, he had like 4.6 YPA, which is a little interesting for college football. You expect him to be a little bit more explosive and dominant, especially playing with New Hampshire as a running back a little bit. But I think as a pass catcher, you just see it, man. I mean, there's one game he had 14 catches, 14 targets, 12 receptions, 295 yards.
Damn.
Like this, that's what he is. He's kind of that guy. He's gonna be a third down guy for them.
And another guy that's really good with the ball in his hands that can be really good on screen. So when you have questions about quarterback and questions about the quarterback's arm strength, what do? You load up on yak guys. You get a guy like Brock Bowers in the 1st round and a guy like Lobb who can make some plays with the ball in his hands, like we've been talking about on those check downs too. So, another guy that could fit with what you have at quarterback right now that can make the pick feel a little bit better.
Yeah. So the last two guys, before you get your guys' questions in, because we get your questions after these last two guys. Got Trey Taylor and MJ Devonshire, who to be honest, I'm not that much familiar with these guys. I mean, he's kind of. I know Devonshire was a corner. I saw that name on NFL.com, but he's like the 17th guy, and I was already watched like 14 of them. I was a lot of you guys. But but Devonshire definitely has a lot of upside because he has a lot of ball skills, right? I mean, that's the thing with him, a lot of ball skills. And Trey Taylor, like he's interesting to me because he's the best safety in college football. So so what the hell's wrong with him? You know what I mean? That's what I would have kind of figure out. So yeah, so those two guys just not too familiar with, but what are your thoughts on those last draft picks there?
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, kind of in the similar boat as you, just don't know a ton about these guys. But I mean, I'll say this: PFF had Devonshire with 18 PBUs in his career and 8 picks. So again, great ball skills. It seems like he's a little undersized. I don't know what he measure in at the combine, but I got him here at 5'11", 190. And then, like you said, you get the Jim Thorpe Award winner who. Don't know a ton about Trey Taylor either. Can't say I got too many Air Force games this past year, but as far as taking flyers on guys, I'll take a flyer on a guy that was the best safety in college football in the 7th round, and then take another chance on a guy that the ball production that Devonshire had. Again, 20 picks before the draft ended. I don't think that's anything bad or anything. So I'm excited to dive into these guys too. It should be a fun class to break open the film on. So. It's got some content coming for the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, man. Because I mean, Taylor looks like he's a monster. He's got a pick 6 here. He's got 3 interceptions. It looks like he's a pretty good tackler too in run defense. You know what I'm saying? A couple sacks on blitzes. So
I know our BR guy like talked more about him as a run defender than as in coverage. So I don't know. Again, for whatever that's worth. So I don't know how, or at least I guess he can contribute in that phase of the game and be maybe that box safety type of player. So,
yeah, because if you I'm looking at Devonshire's RAS here, so never changed. Tom Telesco never changed. 5'10", 186. Never changed, Tom. Never changed. Yeah. So he's 5'10", 186 here. with I just had it. So he's 5'10", 186, 4.45. I mean, he is a Tom Telesco corner. Tom Telesco literally drafts the same corner over and over again. I mean, Richardson was a little taller, right? That's why I thought he was going to maybe draft Nate Wiggins, right? Which he probably would have, because I mean, Richardson and Nate Wiggins. I mean, well, Nate Wiggins is
similar profiles,
but similar profiles, right? So if there was a corner it was going to draft, it probably would have been Nate Wiggins. And then you look at Devonshire. Devonshire is 5'10", 186, 4.45, 38 vertical. It's just, I mean, it's that's the kind of the thing with him is like he never changes with any of those things. It's just like what's his name? Delmar Glaze is 315. Like, and people say he's like 328, but now he's 315. That means so that's going to be learned this draft too. Go ahead.
I was gonna say Glaze was listed at 328 on last year, so I think that's where people are coming from. And then he probably slimmed down a little bit to get better, to get more athletic for the combine.
So Trey Taylor has a RAS of 9.33. Okay, so
that'll work.
That will work. And then because he's 6 foot 213, he's 22 bench reps. That's super interesting. So he's strong to 37-inch vertical. Broad, pretty good. About 10-inch broad. It's just he's slow, so he ran at 4.59. So that's what it is. But that's Kyle Hamilton. Kyle Hamilton ran at 4.6. His shuttle is good though. 4.13 shuttle and a 6.93 cone. What is wrong with this kid?
I think it's just. I think part of it is like the box safety is kind of becoming more and more extinct as we get more and more into too high coverages. So I think that might be it. And the slower time, like. Maybe that would be the biggest difference. The box safety is getting replaced by physical. The box safety is getting replaced by physical nickels at this point.
Yeah, I it's man. I was looking at the RAS, the production.
Maybe they got to steal him. We'll see.
That is interesting.
I'd be interested to see how he is in man coverage against the slot. That could be the difference. I don't know.
See, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, what is he meant? Like, it has to be so your guy who does DB. So maybe I should ask you this on Police Report because you said he talks about him as a box safety, right?
Yeah,
run defender. What does he say about his coverage? Has he really talked about that at all? Or
I don't remember exactly off the top of my head. It kind of made it seem like average to maybe slightly below in coverage. I think it was a little bit of hip tightness and a little bit of like the lack of speed overall. But yeah, I don't know too much off the top of my head. Again, I have to dive in a little bit more on him. But yeah, if I remember, it was like, I think he said he had tighter hips and maybe lacked the top end speed to be the free safety and cover ground like you would hope in today's NFL with a lot of too high coverages.
So he's Ed Reed's cousin?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. I'm mad confused now. Okay, so his production. He's athletic.
Legacy. Yeah, I don't know.
I'm confused with this. I like this pick even more, but now that we just when it was RAS and he's an Air Force guy. That means he's gonna come in. He's gonna come and play football. We know that. Air Force Academy. All right, dog. Okay, that's not bad. I like how I kind of like that one. I'm going to definitely deep dive into that today. Now I'm going to watch him because I got to see what the hell is wrong. That's what I want to figure out here. All right.
I'm trying to find why to not like this guy.
Like, why did you fall to the 7th round? It makes no sense. Just production and draft profile, bro. It's like why these guys get drafted a lot, right? I mean, and if he has
6 production in college.
I think he has multiple touchdowns. Like he has 5 touchdowns.
Maybe they got a steal. Maybe another situation where the Telesco just let the board fall to him and got a steal.
5 touchdowns? He's Ed Reed's cousin? He's athletic? He won the Jim Thorpe Award? Okay, NFL. All right, well,
it's just the NFL hates the troops, man. That's what it is.
I guess so. They just respect those.
Don't respect the troops.
Your triple option. How you think you get away with that triple option you're running?
Yeah, on defense.
I don't know, bro. Like, could you? I'm just thinking about like if a safety had that type of production, the name, the athletic profile. Those are. Anyways, let's get to these questions because I can't. I'm a little baffled just looking over at him because I remember when they drafted him and they said he went to Jim Thorpe Award. I was like, and he's in 7th. Okay, I mean,
I'll take it.
There's a lot of good DBs in college football last year.
He's 23, if that makes a difference. I don't know.
Yeah, man.
Older.
Yeah, I guess. All right, man. All right. How many potential starters do you see from this class, Matt, overall?
First 2 for sure. Like, were we talking like this year?
Mm-hmm.
Or like a couple years down the line? Because those 2 guys are going to start week 1.
Just overall. Let's see year 3. So
year 3. I mean, again, first 2, like I said, Eichenberg, I think could start. So it's 3. I mean, I don't want to say it because Richardson, because again, I need to watch him a little bit more before I feel confident in saying that he could be a starter, but got the size profile and potential opening there where he could slide in a couple years. Hell, maybe Taylor, now that we know that he's got all these accolades and stuff too. So, and then Glaze could potentially take over for Thayer Munford if he does kind of like the same kind of plan where he is the swing tackle or kind of the backup guy, the 6th offensive lineman off the bench for a couple of years and then steps into a role, a bigger role in year 3. Mm-hmm. So what is that, 5?
Yeah.
6?
There's
potential there.
Yeah, there's potential.
Yeah.
Yeah, Chris Smith better watch out, man. I hope Chris Smith start eating his Wheaties today. I hope he's eating his Wheaties. Because Palomar could play special teams. He ain't worried. Like he's the gunner. Like he ain't care. He's like, sure. I mean, maybe he'll play over me. I'm gonna make the football team. Chris Smith. I mean, you need to eat your Wheaties, dog. You need to hit that chip. Hope he's ready for that. Does Telesco cornerback type align with what AP and Graham prefer? That's a good question because when he had Gus Bradley and I was going over the cornerback, he didn't draft anybody for Gus Bradley. Gus Bradley needs.
He did sign like free agent. Like Casey Hayward was the perfect Gus Bradley corner, like the tall guys with the long arms that can just have great ball skills. But yeah, he did not draft. He gave Gus Bradley that middle finger when he was drafting. It's like, I'm going to take my guys.
Yeah, he didn't draft. He's like, you know what? I'm just not going to draft a corner for you at all. Like he didn't draft a corner the whole time he was there. So, and then like right after he left, he drafted a corner. So
one of the better corners he drafted.
Like right after he left. So if you let Telesco draft the corners he wants to draft, he's going to obviously, because every corner is 5'10", 186, or they're 188 or whatever. I mean, the other guy was a little taller, and they all have like 32-inch arms. They all have kind of the same type of things there. They got good verticals. They're very fast.
Yeah.
So we know what type of corner he likes, and that kind of just, sheds light on that basically. But it's going to be, if those guys fit or those two small guys win enough, that's the interesting part for me. Like that could be your thing, bro, but
can these guys eventually overcome their physical limitations? But like a guy like Jason Verrett, he just couldn't stay healthy. But when he was on the field, he was damn good and whatnot. But the thing I think with Graham's like corners, like Graham, like even when you ask him, like even when he first got the job, like they asked him what type of player, he's like, I don't know, like I'll adjust my scheme to what I've got. And I think you've seen that in the last 2 years, especially this last year that he did. So I think that kind of helps where you can just turn to your GM and be like, just get me the best player and I'll figure it out. I think that's the kind of type of guy that Graham wants to be. And I mean, he obviously proved himself pretty well last year with how the Raiders played.
Yeah. All right. Just some of these other questions here that I missed earlier. Which prospect do you like, Richardson or MJ? I got to dive into MJ first a little bit. I've watched mostly because when I watch Richardson, he got cooked by neighbors. It's not fair. So I want to give him a chance. Not fair. You know what I mean? It's just not fair. We didn't skip Glaze. I don't think we did that. Do you think Lobb can compete for Amir Abdul's role? Yeah, probably.
Yeah. I mean, the other thing is Amir Abdul is like, I don't know how old but I know he's in his 30s, getting up there, and he's only on a 1-year deal. and not a very expensive one. So I think if Lob does have a good showing in the preseason, and the biggest thing for him though to literally unseat Amir Abdullah is he's got to be better in pass pro. Where I think Abdullah probably has a little bit of a advantage over him right now as it is, because Abdullah has at least been a good pass blocker in the past, and probably is the best guy in pass pro that they have right now. Maybe Madison, but yeah, that's I think the biggest difference. But I think if he can do that in the preseason and in training camp, he has a chance to take that role from Abdullah, and also as the returner too. So yeah. Amir Abdullah's sweating a little bit.
Yeah,
for as much as you can with the 6th round pick.
All right. What else we got here? So, do you think Beck, Sanders, Moreau, or anyone else for the projected 25 QB class would be better or equal to Penix, JJ, and Nix? Now, I like Carson Beck. Obviously, Carson Beck would have been drafted top 10 in this draft. Obviously, seeing where everybody else went. The Georgia guy who came in there, he has a big arm and he can move, and played in the SEC, played pretty damn well in the SEC. He definitely would have went top 5 or something like this in this draft. And maybe the Raiders actually get a quarterback if he came out. So maybe you guys can blame Carson Beck for that. If you wanted a quarterback, he might have pushed the 7th guy, set the record and pushed the 7th guy back to the Raiders. But yeah, so I think Beck is legit, dude. Like there's some quirks there I can see every once in a while, maybe some decision making, those things. But I think just the talent overall, the arm, the movement skills, the ability to kind of anticipate and make some really good throws out there, and him playing another year college football is very smart. He's a damn good quarterback. Sanders. Now I only watched him versus Oregon, so like I said, it's not fair. So, but I think there's a little arm limitations with him though, a little bit. I think his arm is a little weak.
See, that's where I feel like for me, like I agree with you. I think Carson Beck's the favorite to be the number 1 quarterback as we sit here in April 28th with, again, almost a full year before the first round ends up coming. I think he's going to be the favorite to be the best quarterback in next year's class. But Shedeur Sanders, to me, like, I don't know. Correct me if I'm off on this. If I think I'm off on this, Marcus. Shedeur kind of plays like he's Caleb Williams without having Caleb Williams' talent. Like I feel like Shedeur, like yes, the offensive line was terrible at Oregon at Colorado this past year. Yeah, but I felt like he didn't make it better. Like he would have like instances where he's like dropping way too far back in his sets and giving those guys easier rushes, scrambling when he didn't need to instead of just sitting in the pocket. Like I felt like he tried to do too much and play too much hero ball. That makes me worried because he's just not that caliber player. Very few guys are able to get that. And like, that's where I kind of want to see Shedeur grow this next year is staying in the pocket and operating out of there and stop with the damn hero ball and trying to make a big play out of everything and trying to find Travis Hunter down the field all the time. Like that's where I get worried about with him, where like, again, yes, the offensive line wasn't good. So I understand it to a certain point. But at the same time, like we've got to have those plays where you're throwing it away because you're not Caleb Williams. I hate to say it. You're not that guy that has that arm talent, that type of mobility. But he's definitely intriguing too. Who was the other one that they said?
Jalen Moreau. I don't know about
Moreau.
Jalen. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of Jalen Moreau that much.
Nice deep ball.
My secret guy. So I like Van Dyke. I think Van Dyke's a secret guy that might rise in the draft because he's big. My other guy that I've been talking about a little bit is Donovan Smith. Like he's 6'5", he's like 240, plays at Houston. He was at Texas Tech. He has some pretty good film. Against Texas, he played really well. Even looking at his PFF stats, he kind of died off at the end of the year, but I mean, he went into Big 12 play. He had 4 touchdowns against Texas Tech, 4 touchdowns against West Virginia, 3 touchdowns against Texas. So he came in there balling a little bit. It was a lot of big time throws too, and he can move. So that's a guy that I'm gonna watch and see if he gets better. Maybe he does, and because if he gets better and he has a big year, then yeah, with that size, his movement skills and that arm, yeah.
Curious what you think about Cam Ward. Washington State last year, and then now he's at Miami. So hopefully Cristobal doesn't ruin him.
Yeah, Cam Ward has a big arm too. I mean, he can move. He has a big arm. We'll see. Cristobal is the guy who will ruin your draft stock. So we'll see how that goes. But
yeah, if you have a big arm and go play for Mario Cristobal, it's almost like you're about to have your draft stock ruined. That's basically what his MO has been the last few years.
Yeah. So who had the best? I'm gonna get to this one, but because we're talking about these quarterbacks, do you think Uhr's mullet will fit with ASU's? Oh, no, quit Uhr's. Oh. He's the most talented, sorry quarterback I've ever seen. To be honest, that's my thing with him.
That is very well. Like I every time I watch Quinn Ewers, and I'll be like, man, this guy can just put it together if he just stops doing this stuff. And then I'll still watch him at the end of the year. I'm like, man, this guy can just put it together if he still watches this, if he still gets rid of this stuff. There are so many like highlight throws where he will just drop a
sidearm,
just flinging it and like taking a hit, like taking one on the chops. And then he'll just make some terrible throws like that one to lose that should have won the Sugar Bowl. That was just god awful. And I'm like, dude, what are we doing? Like Derek Glasson, our QB guy at Bleacher Report, comped him to Drew Lock. And I'm like, God damn it, that's perfect. Like, I can't get that out of my head anymore. And I'm just like, you'll have those throws where you're like, all right, there's something with this guy. And then you'll have these other throws like, what the fuck is this? Like, what are you doing? It's frustrating, but we'll see. He also cut the mullet, which I don't know, drops him at least a round in my grade book.
See, think Quinn Ewers, man, because I was watching Adonai Mitchell, and Mitchell just would just work somebody and be wide open, and then Ewers just missed him, and he has like the worst kick I've ever seen against Oklahoma, where he the Oklahoma guy's in front of Mitchell, and he like sees it, but he's like, you know what, I'm gonna throw it anyways, and he throws a pick, and I'm like, what the hell are you doing? But then, like he's very talented, so he's just. I feel like he's a partier. That's how he plays. He plays like he parties a lot.
To put it in a couple cross-sport references, he's like the Joey Gallo, like in baseball, where he'll hit the home run and he'll also strike out 50 times in like a month or whatever. Or he'll be like the guy that can hit threes, but like when you go up for a wide open layup, he clanks it off the backboard.
I mean, I don't know a better way to explain it. I mean, to be honest, display his game, because he literally can do all the cool things that people love, like the sidearm throws, the off balance, and he's great arm strength, and it's just like playing quarterback. I just feel like that, his whole career that he's used to, party, got the house party, and then just go ball on Friday, and I think. That's how I kind of feel. I feel like you can just tell sometimes. You can tell some guys who just don't watch film a lot. It's just a thing. You can tell. But go ahead, Matt. What are you about to say?
I was gonna say, could he be next year's Spencer Rattler, where like he got the buzz, got a little bit of first round buzz like going into the year, and then ends up getting benched for Arch.
Yeah,
and, Arch ends up being the Caleb Williams or whatnot, and when Quinn Ewers ends up going to like transferring or something like that, like. That's the dangerous career arc right now that you're looking at for Quinn Ewers.
Yeah, but he might have a big year though. So
if he puts it together, he could easily be the best quarterback in this class because he has plenty of arm talent. It's just we've been sitting here waiting for him to string it together. If he plays Alabama every single game because of whatever reason he sees Alabama and the dude just turns into like prime Peyton Manning, dropping dimes all over the place, and again taking hits while he's doing it.
Yeah,
but every other team, he's just like, you sit there and like, what the hell happened to that guy?
Yeah, Oklahoma, he was terrible. Versus Oklahoma, I think I hate doing the speculation stuff, but I just watching it was like, and it was an early morning game. Like you went out the night before, didn't you?
Had some too much fun.
That's fun with Oakland,
fair, right? Yeah, too much fun at the state
celebrating the Texas, the river, the river shootout party, pre-party, Red River Rivalry pre-party. All right, is Carter Bradley our practice squad guy? I think. I mean, they usually keep 3 quarterbacks, right? So these days, I don't know if people.
Yeah, that's right. Because you get the extra. If you have them on the active roster, you get the extra, like the emergency quarterback.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah. Oh, I mean, he's the guy we're gonna get to watch a lot in preseason. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if they have a legit competition. We might see a good amount of Aiden O'Connell and Gardner Minshew.
Yeah, that is true. Maybe it's weird how they do competitions now. They really don't do it that as much. Because I'm trying to what other competitions have there been lately? I'm trying to think.
Like quarterback competitions?
Has there been a quarterback competition lately? Like
maybe Atlanta last year with Desmond Ridder and Taylor Heineke.
Yeah.
Saying that loud makes me laugh.
I don't know, man. I don't know, dude. Like, I don't know.
Trey Lance and Sam Darnold.
Is that?
I mean, it wasn't for the starting job, but it was a competition.
Or Trey Lance first. No, he didn't go against Jimmy Garoppolo, did he? No,
not really, because weren't they? Yeah, they were trying to get rid of Garoppolo and they couldn't because of his contract. So they reworked. If you remember, they reworked it, and then Trey Lance got hurt, and then Garoppolo ended up starting. Okay. Broke his ankle week 2.
Yeah, there hasn't been like a quarterback competition in a long time, like a serious one.
Yeah.
We'll see, because I mean, Davis Mills versus CJ Stroud ended after minicamp.
Gardner Minshew and Anthony Richardson.
Yeah, but Richardson won that, right?
Yeah, week 1.
After the first week.
Yeah.
I was saying, so there really hasn't been one. So we'll see how that goes with that. Just any other questions? I saw some good questions. Get 2 more here. Because I like this question. What sports movie would y'all comp the upcoming Raiders team to?
I don't know. It's gonna be a dick and say The Replacements. That's too mean. No. Let's see. I don't know. Maybe go with I'm drawing a blank. Any Given Sunday. You got a little bit of a quarterback competition.
Yeah.
Young guy with a little bit of a veteran. Obviously Gardner Minshew's not like that old, but motivational head coach in Al Pacino. I forget his actual name in the movie, but yeah.
I don't know. I feel like it's like Major League.
No. They were tanking the season. The Major League is legitimately the A's right now, where the owner's just tanking the season.
But they win the pennant. Do they win the pennant?
But you're saying Mark Davis is tanking the season and putting out legitimately a bad roster?
The characters to me, because you got Gardner Minshew is crazy.
Okay.
Right, Aiden O'Connell. He just I'm thinking of that. One of those players that just kind of was just goofy looking. Aiden O'Connell, and then the Max is crazy.
Aiden O'Connell's the pitcher that does all the questionable legal stuff because he doesn't have a strong arm to get more movement on it. Gardner Minshew's like the Japanese outfielder that's just psycho running into the wall.
And Vaughn is like Max Crosby. He's crazy, and I don't know. That's what I feel like that one just it hits the most. I don't know. So it's just because there's a lot of characters. I just see AP, the leader, the coach says whatever's on his mind.
Yeah.
For sure. So we won 2 in a row, and then if we win another one, it's a winning streak.
It's called a winning streak. I feel like what was it Serrano, the Allstate dude he was like an outfielder, has the little thing in his locker. I feel like that's Christian Wilkins.
Yeah, exactly. See, characters everywhere. Weird characters everywhere. There's a bunch of, what I'm saying? It's kind of like the Raiders, like they used to be, like the Misfits, man. I mean, that's kind of what you like. Last question. Is there big free agent QB next year or one we could trade for? I guess the first one is Dak, right?
Yeah, that's right. Dak would probably be the biggest.
Yeah, Dak.
Let me see. I'm pulling it up right now. Let's see the free agent list because I have not thought that far. But yeah, Dak, they don't get a deal done, which I don't know. Russell Wilson.
Russell Wilson. Oh, yeah.
Goff. Garoppolo.
Goff.
Oh, Jordan Love's a free agent, but I imagine they'll.
I mean, if Jordan Love doesn't get re-signed by the Packers, do we want him?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That means he didn't play well at all this past year. I mean, he's about to playoff. If he went, blew out the Cowboys and was making crazy throws. There's Justin Fields. Yeah, Fields too. Fields. It's interesting.
Tua's on his 5th-year option.
I think Tua's gonna sign a contract this year, but before the season.
Get an extension. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. I'm just going down the list of guys that Like I would think the Cowboys would re-sign Dak. Stidham's going to be available.
So basically, it's not a lot in free agency. No. Not a lot. Yeah. I mean, Justin Fields would be interesting, I guess, if as a free agent.
Yeah, but I mean, as we watched this past offseason, I'd like to see some growth from him, and I don't know if we're going to see that with him.
I don't think he's going to play. There's a lot of Steelers fans who think Russell Wilson's going to lose his job, but Russell Wilson's just going to do enough with a team that just does enough to win, and that's what Russell Wilson's going to do over there. It's just, it's going to be.
Yeah, if you're looking at the free agents next year for quarterback, you're hoping that something happened, like that Jerry Jones just continues this weird trend of not paying guys, and Dak walks, and somehow Jared Goff gets out of Detroit. I feel like that was year 2.
Yeah,
those are your 2 white whales.
Yeah, exactly. All right, we're out of here, guys. We definitely, I mean, we went a little longer than we actually wanted to, but that's fine. I mean, we answered you guys' questions, so it was a good episode. Hope you guys enjoyed this. And, we combining the Twitters, we have another 1,100 in here, so people, a lot of people are watching. So definitely appreciate you guys coming and being with us this morning. All right, so we are out of here. Of course, we'll be back with the breakdowns. Definitely get some membership breakdowns. Really, give you breakdowns on all these guys. So. I'm gonna try to get some. I'm gonna hit up New Hampshire. Maybe what I'm saying. Maybe the New Hampshire graduate assistant could hook me up with a little all 22. Man, I might send an email. You know what I mean?
I'll see what I can do too. But I did see there's they have some highlights on YouTube. It'd be broadcast, but at least it's something. And I mean, that dude was such a stud. I gotta imagine he's gonna be in a few of those.
Yeah, and running back's not that. You can watch running backs on broadcast. To be honest.
Yeah. For sure.
All right, guys, we're out of here. You're new here, your first time here, first time seeing the channel. Subscribe. We are out of here. Peace.